mighty proud too, and nothing could make me happier than to have had them all here. My father was Jerry, and I just realized today where that Jeremiah came from the original with Jeremiah and Ellen. They came over here in 44. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and raised, educated there, and I had a brother, Bob. And I married Jerry, practiced dentistry there. We all called him Jerry. He was Jeremiah Arthur. And he was a beautiful, wonderful man. I've never gotten over him, but he's not with me anymore. But I married in 50 and moved to Mississippi. And I mean, I moved to Mississippi to a small, small town. And 4 of my children were born there. And then we moved to Jackson. I had my youngest son was born over there. My husband is Pat McMullen, and he's in the banking business. And my oldest daughter, Julia Rose, lives in Jackson, has 5 children. And the 3 little girls you've seen here are hers, Erin Rose, Mary Claire, and Kathleen McMullen Kehoe. And they have an Andrew and a Will at home. Next is Patrick, whom you met this morning, and he and his wife live in New York. He's in the investment banking business. And they had to leave early to get a plane back. And then Michael is my Lyons. He's Michael Lyons McMullen, and he lives in Austin, Texas now. And he has a Michael Lyons Jr. He has 3 children. And then Mary Charlotte, my daughter from New Orleans, is an attorney there. And then my youngest is Robert Jeremiah. So we kept the names pretty well. And we're also so thrilled to be here, and this is so important to me when you're far away as I am. I love my McMullen family. They're wonderful. It's a great, big, loving, wonderful family. And we have a reunion every year on the 3rd Sunday in August. But my heart just aches to come back up here, and I've cried since I've been here. But I've laughed at the importance of bringing my children up here to see this other very important half of their heritage. And it was brought home to me when little Kathleen first, we came into Missouri and started seeing the first big cornfield. And she looked out the window and she said, "Tutu, look at all that running cotton." And that's when I realized we're together. We think about each other. We have our drinks this way. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally he came in one day and he ordered 2 drinks. And the bartender said, "Oh, what happened?" He says, "Oh, nothing's happened. This is for Daniel and this is for Mike, and I've given up drinking for them." I'm so proud to be here.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yesterday, many of you here have heard a number of these same stories because the Donahoe side of our family had a reunion yesterday, and a beautiful lady that I've never met before, Eileen Fitzgerald Donahoe, played the piano and sang lilting Irish songs, and I thought that she had completely exhausted herself. And at dinner she said, "I haven't even started my Irish jokes. Would you like to hear one?" And I said, "Well, of course." And she said that Pat and Mike in Ireland had been out harvesting peat all day. It was a very hot day. And Pat, who was a very little man, tied his donkey up at the bar, and he stayed in there for a long time. They came out, and somebody had painted his donkey green. And he was extremely mad about the whole thing. So he went up and down the street, bellowing at the top of his voice, "Who painted my donkey?" Finally, a humongous man came out and said, "I did. What would you like to do about it?" He said, "I would like to," he looked at him and he said, "I would like to inform you that the paint has now dried." Maybe I was a little harder on the British. After all, they gave the world refined civilization and good manners. Recently, President Reagan was in England to make the final arrangement for basing the planes for the Libyan raid. Because Prime Minister Thatcher and the President had similar viewpoints, they concluded their affairs at an early hour in the afternoon. So the Prime Minister called the Queen and said that they'd pop over for tea. The Queen said, "It's a nice day. I'll send a carriage and 3 teams of horses to number 10 Downing Street to bring you over to Buckingham Palace." After tea, they went back to the carriage, and the President gallantly took the Prime Minister's elbow to assist her up the high step into the carriage. At that moment, one of the fine horses furtively peered over his shoulder, elegantly arched his tail, and emitted a thunderous, rumbling, gaseous expulsion. When they were seated into the carriage, the Prime Minister said, "Speaking for myself and on behalf of the British people, the Commonwealth, and for that matter, all of the other countries of the world, I offer my abject apologies for that inappropriate occurrence." The President diddled with his hearing aid and said, "Don't give it a second thought, Prime Minister. I suspect it really was one of the horses that did it." Thanks, Dick. We commend all of you who have made the effort with your small children to bring them here. This reminds me of a Robert Benchley comment. He said, "Traveling with children is like going third class on the Bulgarian National Railway system." When children are small, the summer vacation is usually divided into, the 9 weeks of vacation are divided into 3 phases. The first 3 weeks is do everything with your children. The second 3 weeks is find things for your children to do alone. And the final 3 weeks are a question of searching for loopholes in the birth certificate. We will now hear from the new guard, who we are proud of, and we hope will follow our advice and not our example. I believe we will now hear from my son, John Lyons of Denver, Colorado. John has done many things in many places in his life, but he's always found time in almost every summer to spend part of it in Yankton. And in these experiences, he's learned about the turtle races in Lyons. He's learned about the ice house in Yankton, where they still have dockside beer service, and other South Dakota cultural activities with which he has not shared with me, probably. John, could we hear from you, please?
I've noticed I'm the only one that brings notes up here, and I'm supposed to be the new guard with the new memory. I'd like to apologize for some of the same jokes that we've all heard today, and some that you'll hear in mine. My name is John Lyons, and I wrote son of Francis Lyons. Now, a couple people came up to me and said, son of and I said, no, son of a Francis Lyons. Let's see. I feel a little better today. For the people that were here yesterday, we celebrated a wedding, and I think what we should do is maybe meet our newest member of the Lyons family, which would be Randy Gross. Randy and Mary Gross. 24 hours married and she's by herself. When I was asked to speak, I thought I felt honored, and then I realized that I was being coerced into speaking. And that's one thing I've noticed. I haven't lived at home it's been 6 years, but your parents still have a way of making you feel guilty, prodding you into doing things that you don't have a lot of enthusiasm about doing. Another nice thing about these get-togethers is we meet a lot of our relatives that are spread out over the country, and think of an extended family. But you also find new places to visit. Now, I know next summer I'm going to New Orleans, and I think I'm going to New York City. I also spoke a little yesterday about being the new guard. We don't have as much history, so we do need notes because we have to think about those things. I said that our history book is maybe only 1 or 2 chapters long, but after this weekend, I think we might add another chapter or 2 to it. I also spoke a little about what I do when I come to Yankton, South Dakota, and I said that it usually starts waking up and having kolaches at Grandma Mary's. Then usually we go to church, and then what happens Saturday, which seems to become a habit a little more the more I'm older and the more I come to Yankton, is I end up drinking most of the afternoon and night away. And from what I've heard from some of the old guard, that sounds like what they probably did too. Bob's got his hands up. No, no. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We will now hear, I think, from my lovely niece, Susan Lockwood. Susan has had a special place in my heart because she is my first niece. In fact, when I found out about her arrival, I couldn't believe I was old enough to have a niece, but I'm glad I was. Susan, I bought you a scotch and water earlier, which I believe you said would settle you down and you would get through this. So we can hear from you, please.
Hello, as Frank said, my name is Susan Lyons Lockwood. I am married and have two children, Justin and Jessica, who I think are swimming right now. My husband, Marv, is unable to attend today because he had to work. I am the granddaughter of Mary Donahoe Lyons and the daughter of Pat and Pearl Lyons, who are here today. I am one of 6 daughters. The other girls in my family are Linda, Barb, Kathy, Mary, and Carol. I must say it was interesting growing up in a family of 6 girls. My father was always amazed that we all survived the battles over clothes and use of the bathroom mirror. It was always a battle to get in our bathroom. Hot water for baths and showers was also a rare commodity in our house.
That's because he took down the outhouse. Six boys never had that problem.
You probably didn't have a beer in there either. Just this morning, my dad made a jestful comment at the breakfast table about once again seeing all the hair dryers and curling irons lined up on the bathroom bureau. It's amazing that we all survived all the cords and so on. Until I had children of my own, I never realized or understood why my mother several times had threatened to pack her bags and leave after a trying day of moderating fights among her 6 little angels. It's rather ironic that a farmer had a family of 6 girls, and the musician in the family had 4 boys. Although we did not always appreciate the farm life, especially when we had to do the farm chores and seasonal duties such as walking beans, which some of you may not understand if you're not from South Dakota. Anyway, when we all get together and reminisce about this, we talk about the good old days and those are part of them. As was mentioned earlier, Saturday we celebrated the 6th and the last wedding of the Lyons girls, with Mary's marriage to Randy. Thankfully, everything went smoothly. I have to recall the day that my sister Barb got married. Things did not go so smoothly. That day, fate brought us a broken water heater, and the cattle decided to take a stroll through the cornfield, so we were out there in our heels trying to get the cattle in. Anyway, such goes the life of a farmer. My parents still live on the family farm. It was purchased.
Thank you, Susan. Well done. David Lyons, my nephew, son of Jack and Margaret Lyons from Yankton, is a well-known local thespian and linguist. He has a special program for us today. David, are you here? Let's hear it.
Well, as I was at the Donahoe reunion yesterday, I noticed that we had 3 of the same things, which I know apply to the Lyonses. 1, lots of booze, 2, lots of talk, and 3, lots of gossip. So I looked up an old poem, Old MacDonald, and sort of wrote down my own lyrics. So if you'd sort of like listen what the new version is, I'll start it out for you. Old Mick Lyons had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this farm he had some whiskey, E-I-E-I-O, with a full jug here and a full jug there, here a jug, there a jug, everywhere a jug, jug. Old Mick Lyons had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.